Hey team, wanted to make a video because I read the book Maximum Ride Forever by James Patterson. I did it this weekend in honor of one of my cousins who actually passed on. We really bonded over the fact that she was an avid reader, and so that was really cool. And I wanted to read something that she liked, and I remember her saying Maximum Ride. So I looked into it. I found it on the library app, and then I could not. It was very fast paced, so um, I I really knocked it out pretty fast. Actually, I did. I had lived in between, but I did just kind of go, which is exactly what the book feels like. It's very, very go. And I read it and I was just like, wow, they're just throwing so much at these characters. It's post-apocalyptic. There are these characters who are a flock. They were genetically modified at a young age to be 2% avian, 2% bird, and so they can fly, and they have gills, so they can breathe underwater. But otherwise, they are just people, and there I think there are what ages 9 through 14 or 15, 9 through 15, 9 through 16 in this book. Maximum Ride Forever, and they were faced with apocalyptic conditions where there was someone called the Remedy who was trying to save the world by destroying the world, and then he would take over with his minions after he had an underground bunker, and then he was gonna just knock out the entire human race essentially, aside from his genetic experiments and things like that. So there was actually an asteroid, I think, that hit the Earth that kind of started things, and then he detonated a bunch of atomic bombs around, and it essentially created a nuclear winter all over, and it was the catalyst for a bunch of natural disasters. So they had a bunch of tsunami-esque type, huge waves, and tornadoes, and windstorms, things like that. And so it sounded pretty rough. A lot of people were having a hard time surviving. There was a particular meet and greet with people who seemed like they might be cannibalistic, though they did say, "I'm just gonna eat your wings." um, After this girl offered to protect, it was Maximum, actually, it was Max, who offered to help them in exchange because they gave her their last bit of their food supply. So she offered to help them find food because she could fly. She could cover a lot of distance. They fly very fast. I can't remember the exact number, but it's like hundreds of miles per hour. So she said she would help them, and then they tried to eat her wings, or potentially eat her in the middle of the night. so um, so not good conditions at all. Survivors were scattered across the world. There were still some servers up and running, so social media was still working, and so they were able to kind of connect with some people. They got some reports across the globe, and they're famous. They on social media, they're social media famous. So as the flock, and so a lot of people were like, "Where's the flock? Where's the flock?" And then they started saying, "They're dying out. They're being attacked." And so that's part of the plot of the book, is that they're all being attacked and they're all getting taken down. Which is just terrible, but it's so go, and then they're like, they can't possibly be taken down, and so there's that question: were they actually being murdered, or is it just going to be Max on her own at this final part? But there's also a love interest, and there's a prophet, or slash person who can read people's minds, and she said he's going to die. And so she showed him, and so he felt obligated to leave, but I guess he and Max did make love before he departed, before he just deserted her. And then there were, so then we were like, is he dying? And his character was like, is this it? Am I dying? Are they going to murder me now? Am I dead? Is this the last minute? Is this it? Is this it? And but eventually, this flock split up, and they said that this was the first book where they kind of parted ways. They had interrelational strife, and so everyone went off and kind of started doing their own things, looking for survivors. They couldn't decide what to do, and a few were pretty injured. Some people were murdered, and so a few people opted to go back to their island and kind of rest and look for survivors. A few people went to the United States because that's where social media suggested there was a pocket of survivors, and then the prophet slash mind reader went to Russia, and she told them, I'll see you all in Russia. And so that is where the end game kind of happened, where they took down the remedies. So but there were a lot of cliffhangers, like, did he actually die? And then what happened to the love interest? Is he dead? Or is he not? And then just things like that. So but a lot of things. And then there was a sacrifice of another character, because there was unreciprocated love, but because of breeding and grooming to be in love with a character. And then that kind of happened multiple ways where it wasn't necessarily reciprocated. And so it was just, that was really unfortunate. And then there was sacrifice there, and so interesting tech. They had underground tunnels that had reflections of like 3D like cityscapes on the walls and through these tunnels. So that's kind of cool. That's a cool concept. But lots of go, and I thought that was actually kind of amazing. It was just, the plot was just driven forward, and it didn't have a lot of dialogue, but there was obviously some reflection with the relationships, and feeling lost and wanting to go home and try and find, and a lot of that was kind of implied to find survivors there, and so there was that, but it wasn't explained, but you kind of get it anyway. And then it was just so so it kind of was like, wow, because it did feel like a soap opera, because people were dying and people were coming back to life, and then those people were bad and now they're good, they're good but they're bad, and you love them anyway because of XYZ, and then people are being murdered, and are they really dead, and things like that. So it's really, really go, and it actually did inspire me. I kind of want to try and think like that. It felt very intuitive, like the writer was just like knocking it out, and like it was just natural to think like that, and to think post-apocalyptic, and what scenarios. And so it was just really, really nonstop. And I think that I don't really read stuff like that, so I'm intrigued by it, and I'm intrigued by that mindset, because I'm a very slow-paced, stable kind of thinker, I guess. And so it's not like that, like that. So interested. I liked the interwovenness and the characters, and the kind of how the relationships kind of interrelate. And so I kind of would like to play with that in some of the things that I have in my life. I do a lot of little projects like that. So I think that this was very cool. I liked it, and I am going to read book 1. I got book 1 as well, so this should be fun. But I will talk to you later. Have a great one.